Hi guys, welcome to our podcast pilot.
Hi.
This is going to be Hepp Steps, and it's basically just going to be a higher education podcast, just chatting about all of the things centered around higher education that people don't talk about or that we kind of wish we knew before we went.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we'll start by introducing ourselves. I think that'll be the best place to start. Yeah. My name's Yaz. I graduated from Newcastle Uni. I studied politics. Had a great 3 years there. Done lots of bits and bobs since I graduated, and now find myself here with these two.
Yeah. I'm Kay, and I graduated in 2024. So I've just graduated, and I studied at the University of Sheffield, also doing politics and international relations.
And I'm Tanya. I went to Aberystwyth University and graduated in 2022. And then I did my teacher training at the University of Edinburgh, which I completed a PGDE in.
Yeah, she got a master.
Is it different in
Scotland? There's a whole different curriculum and you need a different qualification.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
The more you know.
The more you know.
You don't know much, do you?
Okay, so Kay and Yaz both work for Hepp, whereas I work for Hepsi. And we're going to be discussing in this podcast a little bit about what we do in our jobs and our experiences. We'll be talking about deliveries, and that's where we go into schools and deliver sessions all about higher education.
Okay, so we're just going to introduce our topic for this week. So we thought we'd talk a bit about accommodation, because I think it's something that you obviously know if you move away from home for uni, you do have to go into like university accommodation and live somewhere in a new city, which is super exciting. But I think a lot of the time accommodation isn't talked about, and like how it actually changes from year to year. I think you hear more about first year and less about second and third year. So we're just going to talk about all of our experiences throughout the years, some funny anecdotes, and some of the pros and cons that we personally found.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, I can start with.
You're the oldest.
As the eldest statement.
See if you can remember.
See if I can remember.
We can go in age order.
Back in 1995. No, I graduated in 2020, so I went to uni in 2017. So yeah, I was at Newcastle, as I said, and I had, you all get accommodation options when you're going into first year. You get the choice into what accommodation you're going to, and some accommodations have a bit of a reputation for being more sociable, some have a bit of a reputation for being quieter. I went for the most sociable one.
Legend.
Obviously.
And usually you find out that stuff from going on the internet or speaking to other people that go to the university, so definitely do that when you're looking at accommodation.
And in general, the more people in the flat, probably the more sociable it's going to be, just by numbers.
Different characters as well.
Yeah, you're going to get a bigger range of characters, and we certainly had a our flat. I was in a 12-man flat, so it's very rare, and they've actually knocked my accommodation down last summer. So I think
this is can't have this anymore.
Yeah, so now I can say it wasn't very nice. It was like a square with 12 rooms coming off the side of it, and the kitchen, a tiny kitchen in the middle with no windows, so it was in the middle of the square for 12 boys, and 2 cubicles. So it was far from luxury, but we had 12 people there, and we just all had a laugh. I think almost being in accommodation that wasn't as nice made it even funner, because we had freedom to kind of do more what we wanted with it, and there were so many of us. There's always someone knocking about.
Did you always want to live with just males, or did you?
No, that'd be a bit of a red flag. That would be a bit of a red flag. No, it was that whole accommodation and it was a sociable accommodation. So
was it all just boys, or was it all split gender flats?
So all split gender. So the flat above was all girls.
Oh,
so we got on really well with the flat above.
So you basically have mega flats.
Yeah. So so it wasn't it wasn't just the whole 2,000 strong accommodation of men.
What a nightmare.
That would be wild.
Some accommodations, I swear, have blocks of just single sex.
Yeah, well, I know that in Sheffield, in their quieter accommodation, which is Rammore, they have like girls only flats for people that want to live with women for like religious reasons or safety reasons. It depends where you go though.
Yeah, so this was just because I think the toilet facilities were not like, you know, there were cubicles. Like you wouldn't really want to be sharing that.
Cubicles with not 9 boys, I guess, but
yeah, well maybe, yeah.
I mean, it was
also you walked out the shower and like, you know,
you're in the hall.
You're basically in the hallway, like.
Yeah.
I actually found that the boys I lived with were cleaner than the girls in the bathroom.
Yeah, the girls' shower was horrible. Yeah. Everyone just left their hair. Bearing in mind, I didn't. My hair looks very different from other people's hair.
So you know.
You listeners, I have an afro. Everyone else I lived with has straight hair, so I knew it wasn't mine.
I mean, yeah, it was carnage. One of those that like, I look back and I'm like, how did I live like that? But at the time, I didn't even think it was like that hard living in such mess. And it wasn't
first time living.
It was
outside of your home. So what were you
really living? Yeah, no, it's true. You just have no like context for it, and it was bad, but it wasn't like.
It's not unenjoyable though.
Like it was like I think there were other flats where it genuinely was like there were enough people who had some sort of awareness of like doing the washing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was I really enjoyed it, but that was my accommodation experience. Now I'm just going to talk because I'm going to talk a little bit about my kind of second and third year accommodations, because in first year the vast majority of people who do move away are in that student accommodation, which you don't have any choice in terms of who's going to be in there. That is a bit of a lottery, you know.
Oh, see, I actually did.
Well, you did a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, so mine was interesting. And I didn't know this before I applied. I think it will just depend on your university. But I could actually see who was like in my room. So my accom worked where you picked an accommodation and you literally picked a flat and a room. So I literally applied to like be in the room that I was in, and I could see the other people who applied to be in the other rooms. They wrote like a little bio, so it'd be like social, like music, like tidy. It's kind of it was all a bit of a lie. I wish I could.
What did you say? What did you say?
I think I was just like, oh, I enjoy like socializing, listening to music, going for like walks. And I'm studying, like I just said, what I was studying, and I was like, oh, I'm studying politics.
Who wouldn't want to live with that?
Exactly. In our let alone, I'm not tidy. I'm messy.
with our uni, with student like halls, you could choose if you knew someone at the uni that was going as well. You could choose to have them in your room. Or, like not your room, sorry, your flat.
You
inappropriate today.
Yeah, so but anyway, it is still a bit of a lottery. But then in second and third year, again, the vast majority of people, you kind of the done thing is mainly to move out into like private accommodation. So that'll be like student housing. So there'll often be areas of cities. Mostly there's areas of cities where that most of student housing is, and you kind of have to sort that out yourself. So you have to find a group of people to live with. You have to contact the landlord, and you have to go and do some viewings and sign for it, and that's going to be your accommodation for second year.
With mine, like I was saying, I wanted to live by the sea in my second year.
So nice.
And I actually lived with some of the same flatmates that I was in halls with, because I got quite close with them. And yeah, we had this seaside house, and we
can't believe that.
Yeah, that's so like lucky.
It was amazing. Do you want to know how much it was?
How much?
320 a month.
What?
Yeah, that's Wales for you. It's still like, I know inflation's gone up.
I promise this isn't an ABBA kind of like propaganda thing, but it sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good.
It's I mean, I think everyone's like, why would you go there? It sounds like such a rogue place, but honestly, like my like going out would be going to the beach, having bonfires, just watching the sunset, surfing, swimming. And that second year house was, even though the window fell off, it was really good.
It just gave you a better view of the sea.
Yeah. But it was this tall house, and there was 8 of us living in there, and each level had like a flat on it, if that makes sense. So like each level had like a kitchen and a bathroom. So it's kind of like we had like our own block of flats on our floor, but we were all living in the same block.
That's really cute.
So it was
that's so lovely.
It was really, really nice. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't even look at the house when we moved in. I just heard it, like my friends went to go see it. Wouldn't recommend doing it because I ended up with the worst room.
Yeah, room politics is a whole nother thing.
Let's discuss it then
Yeah.
after we talk
Yeah,
about our living.
yeah.
Because people get into arguments about that. I
Yeah.
wasn't that bothered, like, but
How bad was the room?
it was pretty bad. It was just a little box room.
Yeah, there's always one box room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't even. It was illegal that was even a room. It was so small. But like I said, I didn't really care that much. Like, we're right by the sea. I wasn't really spending much time inside anyway. But yeah.
Nice. And then for me, so in second year, I kind of did a similar thing to you where like basically it was most of the people that I'd lived with. I lived with a house of the people I'd lived with the year before in my flat, and then we lived next door to and shared a garden with one of the other boys that we'd lived with and some of his friends. So that was really nice because again, it was like we shared a garden, we had two like adjoining houses.
Yeah.
I really loved it. Again, I just chose like a street in Sheffield that was in the student area.
What area of Sheffield was it?
It's in like Crooks. So in Sheffield, Crooks is a really nice area. It's like gorgeous. Got loads of lovely parks. So Bowl Hills, I was literally like 15 minutes walk away from there, which was like amazing. And yeah, I loved it. It was like a pretty average house. My room was pretty big. I was on like the top floor. I loved it. I loved the people I lived with. For me, I just was like, because you do have to decide quite early on. So I think in maybe November, we kind of made the decision.
Now, same here.
It changes for every city, because I would just like to say for Sheffield, there's a surplus of student housing. So if you happen to go to Sheffield and get to like November and you think, I don't know who I want to live with, don't rush it. I would say there's going to be houses, you'll be able to find somewhere to live. I think it's more important to choose living with people who you're going to like than finding like the most amazing house, because a lot of student houses, they're just basic houses. You're not going to, 100%. Unless you're paying a lot of money or you're Tanya, you're not going to get anything that's like amazing. It's just a bog standard house, but I loved it. We had such a good time there.
It's what you make of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was really good as well, because similar to Tanya, like they weren't necessarily my like closest, well, they are my close friends, but like they weren't necessarily the people they weren't necessarily the people that I hung out with. Like I feel like socially I had like a different group of friends that I was like close with, but I'd already lived with them. I knew that like we kind of all understood each other, our living vibe, and it was quite nice to like,
that's so important,
have that like separate space of like I can chill. And I think that actually when I got to my third year house, I found it quite overwhelming living with like people that were also like my main social circle, and that, because I would go out with but I also think because it was me, one other girl, and then the rest were like lads, it was just a bit of a different like energy than like when I was living with all of my friends who we all did stuff together and hung out all the time. It was quite intense, which I actually really enjoyed in the end. Like I also loved it. I still live with some of the people I lived with in third year now, but it definitely was like more of a intense thing that I wasn't actually expecting. I think
you want to switch off, don't you? Like you want home to be where you go to relax, and almost if you have too much of that socialization, you don't really go out and get a break.
You feel
or you just don't or you just don't like. I found myself not seeing other people because we would just become such a like we're just doing stuff together, which was really cute, but it was a bit like, oh, we need to like branch out and like go see people.
I think what we're kind of saying here is like, don't feel like you actually need to live with your best friends. Like, don't feel the pressure of that. If as long as you get on with the people you live with, like, then I think that's fine. It's more. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
I know someone that well, actually, even me.
Here we go.
In when I did my postgrad in Edinburgh, I lived with people.
Do you want to just explain what postgrad is?
Oh yeah, sure. Postgrad is a degree you do once you already have an undergraduate degree, so like a master's as well, and I did a postgraduate diploma, so that was what I needed to become a teacher in Scotland. But I ended up living with two girls that I had never met before. I met them on a Facebook page, and it was completely smooth process. It was really easy. It was, and it helped me go to a city and kind of do things for myself, and have them to kind of like make the city my own.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's more important to live with people who you are functional living with. So you have a similar standard of like cleanliness too, or you just kind of understand each other's like routines and what you need in personal space, rather than living with your friends. Like I know in my third year there's one of my friends who I love him, but I would not live with him again, just because I feel like when we're living together that much, we clash as people. 100%, no, not either person's fault, but I recognize now that like we're just not people that should live together. Still love and very close friend, but you kind of, and you realize that, and honestly if you are good friends it won't matter, like we're still good friends and we've just realized that. So it's not the worst thing in the world, and it's, you kind of discover that as you get it. You get, what do you actually like about living with people? What do you want from your house?
Yeah, I think it might seem, if like, you know, you're listening to this and you're applying for UCAS and you're still living at home, you might think, oh yeah, but like cleanliness, I'm not too bothered about cleanliness, I can't see how that would like cause an issue with like a really good friend. But like it does, like day after day, like things build up, and it is something that's important, even if it doesn't actually necessarily feel like it is now.
Yeah, I also think there's a lot of pressure to have like a family kind of feel with your accommodation. I know people that had really bad experiences, especially when going to halls, and they went into halls and they didn't feel like they had the uni experience. But everyone's uni experience is different. And then the second year, they found these people that they knew they wanted to live with, and then had a really good experience. So it's, you know, there's no pressure for it to be this amazing experience in the first year. You have a
lot of people, it takes a bit of time to like, I think people feel the pressure to have that freshers week and freshers year as just like perfect, and people probably give the impression that like they're having an amazing time, often like social media and stuff, but everyone has difficult times in like first year, you know, especially if you're moving away. Even if it looks like someone's having the perfect time, it might feel like you're the only one who's not quite clicked with that group of people, not quite found your people yet, and that can be quite tough for a lot of people. But so many people, it takes until second year or even third year to really kind of find their people, find their groove. So even if it might not look like that way, like most people are feeling like that.
Also, realistically, you don't know these people for very long, so you're not gonna, I would say that anyone who's saying that they're like besties and super close with their flat by like November is kind of lying, because you've only known these people for a month. Like you haven't. You're leaving, you know, for me, my friends from home, some of them I've known since I was in like year 7. So it's like I've known these people for 5-6 years versus I've known these people for 2 months. You're not going to be as close with them. You're not going to feel that connection. And that's actually fine and normal, and it will come in time. And now I've known these people for like 3-4 years. They are absolutely some of my closest and dearest friends, but it takes time. You build up a relationship. Relationships take time, and that's okay. You're not just going to necessarily instantly click with everyone.
Also, with that, my closest friends from uni, I met in my final year. And 2 of them that I recently went on holiday with, they had both graduated before I did, and they used to come back to the uni town, and I got close with them from them visiting. So they, you know, you make friends at any point.
You make friends throughout your time. And I also want to say, just to go back to not getting on with your flat in first year, I think the people that I know that didn't get on with their flat in first year actually made more friends, because they have to make more of an effort to like go out. Whereas like I know I definitely got very comfortable because I just like knew my flat, liked my flat. We would just sit around every night talking and playing cards, and I wouldn't go and see people for a bit, and I had to kind of be like, oh, I should actually go out and like do something else, because I love doing this, but like, you know, I need to socialize and make other friends.
I think I like I said earlier, I wasn't like the closest with some of my flatmates. We just kind of had our separate like social lives, but I will go on to this in another pod, I'm sure. But I found my closest friends through societies, which are clubs you can join when you start uni. It can be sports clubs, it could be interests.
Okay, so we've obviously discussed a bit about like our accommodation and living with people and the troubles that come with that. But I think that something important to say is that it is a really important thing. Even if you don't get on with your flatmates, you're going to meet people throughout your life that you're not going to get on with. Being able to like honestly communicate and have constructive conversations with people is a really, really important skill. that you will use throughout your life. Unfortunately, you will have to meet and live and work with people that you don't get on with. So even if you don't get on with your flat, you're gaining really useful skills. And there's loads of support at university for all of this stuff. So I'll just talk a bit about the accommodation support that we had at Sheffield, but something to note that it will change from university to university. So if that's something that you're really interested in or that is really important to you, just do your research before you go on these institutions and what they offer. You should be able to find everything on their website. But for Sheffield, we had like RAs who would come round to the flats. They would be assigned a couple different flats, and they would come and chat to you in first year, like at the first term, and kind of explain what their job was and give you their contact, and then they check in periodically, just asking how the living situation was going, was everyone getting on, how you were doing like individually with your mental health, did you need any support? And it was a really nice way to just make sure that everything was going good. And if you had any issues with your flatmates, they would help you get over them. So they would kind of mediate a discussion about like cleaning or cleanliness or just other stuff. So it's really useful to kind of know that if we did have to have these scary adult conversations that we've maybe never done before, we could have them with somebody else and be supported.
We didn't have anything like that. I didn't even know that was a thing. Did you have any situations where they came in?
We did, yeah. Really? So we had a situation, which I won't discuss because it's not appropriate for the podcast, but we did have a situation where we had to contact RA and just say we were worried about the mental well-being of somebody in our flat, and they came, they discussed it, we kind of had a bit of a mediation, and it solved it, and it was fine, and I think it was really, really useful for that person and for the rest of us, and I'm so glad that we had that contact, because I don't think any of us were close enough with that person or had the level of emotional maturity that we needed to handle that conversation.
We had an RA as well for our student accommodation, and I can talk about the situation because it involves me. And it was a very stupid time in my life, and
no, not you, Tanya.
I know, surely not. You think me out of anyone?
Sensible and put together.
Yeah, always. I made my first year flatmates very unhappy because I broke the oven by using a chopping board as a baking tray because I thought it would work. And I had to pay £100 to replace the oven.
Can you just talk me through what actually
did you
happened?
have more than one oven?
No.
Did it like drip? Did it melt?
Yes, I've got a photo. I've got.
Did it melt?
Wow.
Plastic.
I'm just trying to imagine like how that works.
It dripped through. But
oh my god, it must have stank.
I'll tell you why I thought it was
a
baking tray.
Logic is gone.
Right. It was from IKEA, and the label said baking sheet. So I thought it was like an oven-proof like plastic sheet that you put on.
I'm hearing a small claims to IKEA right there for false advertising.
That is confusing.
But I also should have just felt that it was plastic.
I'm kind of like, I'm trying to be empathetic, but like,
no,
I'm trying to imagine a scenario in which I would put plastic in an oven.
But I'll show you that photo later. It was hilarious.
I would like to see the photo. And actually, I have a similar oven-based house issue situation that I also caused.
And just let me add, I love an oven story because there's always something involving an oven in people's like uni experiences.
I think there is. There's always something involving oven. My oven story was obviously I'd mentioned we had the two houses across the road from each other. So we'd just come back after Easter. It was only me and my friend were back in our house, and we were going to go pop over to the house across the road just to like literally grab something. And I'd put a pizza in the oven.
I think I know where this is.
And we literally walk out the door closes, and we're both turning around to each other and say, Did you bring a key? And we're both like, oh no. Neither of us have got a key. And then I was like, I've got a pizza in the oven. So I was like, what do we do? So we were looking around trying to scramble, like see if we could climb in a window. That just didn't work. I almost fell off. Like we were like, what do we do? We're like, we're gonna have to call 999. We're gonna have to call the fire brigade. There was no other way. We couldn't climb in.
Wait until somebody comes back with a key.
No, everyone was at home. Like Easter. Yeah. Like
imagine being a firefighter and getting a phone call from a student
God.
saying, "I've got a pizza in the
I've locked myself. Literally, these all went through my head. I was mortified, but there was no other way. I like just
Surely
like,
call the landlord.
it was like midnight.
Oh.
Yeah, we tried. It wasn't my first port of call. I was just like,
I feel like
999.
you guys after like 15 minutes looking at everyone's location going, well, we got to call the police.
Police, ambulance, fire brigade, the whole works, please. So I had to call 999. I had to explain the situation. Like, they were like, I could tell they hear the judgment in her voice. I remember it so clearly. And she's like, right, we'll be sending around what are they called, fire engine then. I'm like, fine. We're just sitting there like, oh.
Did the sirens go?
So we're like sitting outside, and I just turn around and look at the door. I'm like, right, I've got nothing to lose. So I just ran at the door, put my shoulder into it. It burst open. I carried my momentum all the way up the stairs. Bang, turned the oven off. Perfectly done pizza.
Are you serious?
This all did happen in like 15 minutes.
It was literally. It was a very short.
Did they get there?
No. So then obviously after I was like, right, let's call them and stop them coming. So
did you eat the pizza?
It was perfect. Beautiful pizza. It was a stressful situation, and I was cursing my.
Story I've ever
Kaydian's often described me as weaponized incompetent.
That is such a weaponized incompetence. The fact that it didn't take you more than 15 minutes to call the emergency services.
And it wasn't even like a life or death. It was just, we've got a pizza in the oven.
In about 2 hours, it might set on fire.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I stand by
health and safety don't
So don't leave a house with pizza in the oven, even if you're just nipping across the road.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that on Newcastle, do they?
No. There you go. They also don't tell you the difference between a baking sheet and a baking tray. Like, what is that?
Guys, life is hard.
It is.
And support-wise, second year. So obviously, I think it sounds quite intimidating finding a house for the first time, like renting, because a lot of the time you are renting from like student landlords, which are companies, but you can also rent from private landlords. There's a lot of options to choose from, and I know I was really scared when I started like thinking about it, because I was like, I've never rented a house before, and you do kind of do it on your own. You contact the landlords, you sign the contracts, you know, it's your name on the utilities bill, you set up the direct debit. It's all really new stuff that you've never done before, so it can be really scary.
Wi-Fi.
I found it very stressful. I found it a bit like
And a lot of the times it is made a bit easier if you're a student. Something like uni homes or like package bills is something you can go for, but it is a more expensive option. So, you know, you might also want to be calling the water and electricity companies yourself, and that can be a whole thing. So, again, I was really lucky within the Sheffield Students' Union. They have a housing support, like little booth where they can talk you through the approved landlords in Sheffield.
Support, I remember. Well, I didn't really receive much support, but I didn't feel like I needed it because it was so simple when I was going through like a private housing after my student halls. It was all the bills were included. I think Wi-Fi was included, so you just paid monthly your rent and it had everything included in it, which made it so much easier. So actually, for the first time, I had to work out how to like set up, you know, council tax and how to set up water bills and electricity was this year.
So
there we go. Yeah, and a lot of times they do make it easy because they know that students haven't done this before, and the landlords want to make it as simple as possible. So a lot of the time it is easy, but it is good that like if your university does have that support, it's really useful. Like Sheffield has a housing fair every year in November, again where they approve landlords, because unfortunately in some situations and in some cities you can get some landlords that want to take advantage of students because they know that they're maybe not familiar with the renting process. They don't know the normal prices. So that was something that I thought was really good, is that they had approved contracts for private landlords. So when I rented with a private landlord, he used a contract that had been drawn up and approved in conjunction with the students' union. And then you have the housing fair where all of the like approved landlords and like letting agencies could come and talk to students and like show what houses they had to offer. And it's really good because it means that if you have a really negative experience, you can report it to the students' union and they can kind of help flag it for other people as well, which is an amazing thing, I think.
One thing I would also really, really advise is always go on in-person visits for the house.
Yeah.
Because we visited some houses that looked really nice online and went in and they weren't very nice. So you always want to make sure you visit in person.
And you want to check out the area. It might be in the student area, but actually on the outskirts of it that's really far from you. It's just good to get a feel of the kind of place you're going to be living in.
And the safety as well. That's so 100%.
important. And have a look and see what room you want. You know,
True.
A lot of the times it worked out for us that, if you'd gone and found the house, which I did every time, you were able to like choose a room or at least guarantee not the worst room.
I loved looking at the houses. That was one of my favorite things.
I love having a look around houses anywhere.
Because I live in the student area in Sheffield now. You see them all. You see around kind of October time, I was seeing like big like groups of 6 just like walking around looking at different houses. I was like, what are they doing? I was like, oh, they're all looking at the housing, and it kind of brought me back because it was quite exciting, especially for the first time.
You know, the house you're gonna live in. For me, like our flats were not a house. We didn't even have a living room. We literally just had a kitchen. No, we just had a kitchen.
Yeah, we didn't have a living room in our second year house.
Really?
That sucks.
No, I didn't mind it. I actually didn't mind it. Like,
I love a living room.
I'd rather have
movie night.
Actually, no, I would like a living room.
Well, what did you like? Where did you chill? Like,
we just didn't chill. Like, we chilled on the beach.
What about winter?
Chilled on the beach. Embrace the Welsh weather.
Tanya lived on the beach in second year of uni.
Do you know what's really nice about that house though? Is that one of my best friends at uni, who is still there now, he ended up living, and he's quite a bit he started uni a bit later than I did. So as I left, he joined, which is what I was saying earlier, you can make friends literally at any point. But he ended up having the same house that I lived in. So when I graduated and I really missed Abbott and I wanted to feel really nostalgic, I'd just stay at my old house. I loved it. That's amazing. So guys, I think that has been a really insightful conversation.
I would agree.
It's
great.
Really insightful.
You know what? It's actually been really interesting to hear about your guys' experience.
It's nice how different they all are.
So different, but also some similarities. I think, like our values as well.
Definitely.
Well, I think a similarity being we all really enjoyed living away at university.
And I loved every single year, even though I feel like it was a very different situation. I really, really enjoyed them all. Like it was still such a good experience.
You know what? Before we end this, shall we all say one piece of advice we have for students that are thinking about student accommodation, whether in their first year, second year, third year?
Okay, I would say, I think we've talked about it a lot in this podcast, but don't look for perfection. I think it's important to accept that it's probably never going to be a perfect housing situation, and obviously you don't want to be living with people you feel uncomfortable living with, but you sometimes got to accept the reality of the situation. You need to maybe do it a bit quicker than you would like. So I think don't look for perfection, and maybe just accept things not being quite the way you'd 100% imagined.
I think compromise is key, kind of very similar. Realistically, you are going to have to learn to compromise. That's a key skill in life, and also just a reality of living with people. Just because you like things really clean doesn't invalidate somebody else not liking that. You can't force somebody else to tidy. You guys are going to have to meet in the middle. So that might mean your standard has to come down, and that is just as valid as them bringing their standard up. And I think that's something people a lot of the time don't think. They think because they want the house spotless, everybody else should make the house spotless. That's not how it works. When you live with people, you have to compromise.
And mine would be to know your difference between a baking tray, a chopping board.
That's probably the most important.
If you take anything from this podcast,
don't put plastic in the oven.
No, it's so dangerous.
And on that note, I think that rounds up our first Hepp Steps podcast. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back for more myth busting and just general information and thoughts about higher education.
If you have any more questions about accommodation, feel free to DM us on Instagram. Our handle is HeppHQ. That's that's HEPP_HQ.
Brilliant. Oh, thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.